Namaste, Vitruvians. Glad to see you again. Just after a very short break, here we are for a flashlight. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Good to see everybody. Did you finally get to your destination, Nick? After
Uh, no, my
many, many
bag. You
hours of
mean? No,
traveling.
yeah,
Oh,
no.
your bag, that's right.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah. I
made it.
do not
Your
have my
bags
bag
didn't.
yet. I do not have my bag yet. So, yeah. So it's very frustrating. But anyway, just focus on work instead, and don't think about other things. But yeah, I'm kind of acclimating to the time here, and the best way to acclimate is to not sleep at all, which I've discovered is a good way to acclimate. I've not slept at all since I got here.
Don't do
It's
don't
now
do that. We need you healthy.
it's 11:30 p.m. It's 11:30 p.m. Great to see everyone here. Woohoo! I see a lot of friends here. Hi, everybody. Um, so today we have a special flashlight to talk a little bit about verse. And But before that, we also launched a new feature on Scope today, which is a dashboard. So let's get into it. Let's start off by adding this to the stage here. Welcome to Vitruveo Flashlight, episode 3. So a flashlight is where we have live streams where we want to focus on a special topic that is different from the regular spotlights we do every Friday. So with this flashlight, it's I would like to start off by talking a little bit about the dashboard, which some of you might have already seen. It's on Scope. If you go right to the Scope homepage, you'll see it right away. It's got all the numbers here, and I think it bears a little bit of explanation. So you know what? I'm gonna let Mike do the honors to get that going, so that I can save my energy for the worst part.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I know there's a lot of confusion as different listing sites like Dex Tools, CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, they all have different definitions for these things. And it's not that they're different definitions, is that there's nuances to these words. So I just posted in the Genesis OG chat kind of a breakdown of what makes these names a little bit different. Just to clarify, the max supply is our 250 million. That's the total amount of coins that can be minted at any given time, and we'll never exceed that number. So that is, of course, our 250 million. A total supply, however, is with our protocol, it is the 250 million. But if we had certain burning mechanisms or that sort of thing that were attributed to our protocol, the max supply and the total supply would be minus the amount burned. So it doesn't for us it's and the total amount that's in the ecosystem. Sorry, I needed to clarify that. Which has no burning mechanism. So it's very similar to the circulating supply, but it subtracts any burned amount. So that's your 60 million. Circulating supply right now in our protocol is 9.3 million. That is what's available for trading, but it does exclude, locked, vested, reserves or any amount that's burned. And then active supply is typically a term that's used over a certain period of time, meaning which coins are actively moving within the ecosystem during a certain period of time. So let's say it's 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, that sort of thing. The amount of coins that are actively moving within that time period. So Nick and I talked about putting together or adding an active supply on that as well. So obviously, with such a low market cap starting off, and with the amount that we have staked, that gives us a total value locked of a very low number, which is really, really good. Typically, whenever you're calculating these things and you're evaluating an investment, you want to evaluate the total value locked in terms of a ratio. Anything under one is undervalued, anything over one is overvalued. Right now, I did a quick calculation. I think it works out to be somewhere around zero point 0.3, 0.37 in terms of a total value locked ratio, which is very, very good for us. Yeah, so that's kind of a brief explanation. I know it can be a little confusing because it draws out a lot of questions. And um, there is a possibility that what we may do in the future and how we organize this is do it in terms of buckets. That way, if you see one, let's say, max supply, and then it's a tiered approach. That way, you kind of see that everything kind of falls within certain buckets. But for now, I think this is amazing because all of this stuff previously had to be done manually. And so now we can see it on one dashboard and then we can tweak it as we progress, which is great. And of course, all of the listing, the central exchanges, they'll need this information and this data. VCs that evaluate our protocol going into Series A will need this data. So it's all very, very good. So great job, Nick, getting all this stuff put together.
Thanks. Yeah, I want to add a little bit of color. There's a lot of information here, and Mike highlighted some of the key areas on the top here. But I want to scroll down here to the bottom and show you all this information is live. It changes every 15 seconds. You can see the block number change, and whenever the block number changes, everything is refreshed, including all balances and things like that. All the numbers are recomputed. You'll see that on some of these boxes, there's a little arrow pointing up. What that does is take you straight to the source. So for example, this is current staked. It says 15.7 million, and you can click on that, and that's going to take you to the Explorer, and it's going to show you that exact contract, and you can see that that's exactly the number. It's there. And I do want to point out that current vesting, if you go there, you'll see that there's been a very large number of claims with 36 minutes ago, etc. Lots of claims going on, and that's why there's a large number of coins entering people's wallets. It's their coins, it's expected. The other thing I want to point out is that we have a number of contracts, and there are coins allocated into those contracts for certain reasons. For example, this is unclaimed revenue share income from folks who may not know that they're eligible for it, etc. The actual, if you go to the Vibe page here, it says that let me throw that out there. Okay, so that's 2.1 million, right? So that's how much revenue has entered into the Vibe contract. And what's left in the Vibe contract now is 807,000. So people are gradually withdrawing their revenue that they are eligible for, but then also more revenue is entering that. I, for example, I've committed to putting 1,000 Vitru in every single day for 365 days. So that's 365,000 Vitru that is going to enter, and that all just gets distributed among all of you. Same thing goes for some of these other contracts. With VUSD, the Vitru that you see here is collateral. VUSD is a stable coin, and so it must be backed up by Vitru, and that's what that is there for. Wrap Vitru is whatever's been wrapped is sitting there, etc. And this last one is a little interesting. This is basically any wallet that has over 50K right now. That's 23 of them for a total of 3 million Vitru. That adds up, with the largest wallet being at 459K. Now, you can see all of this also by going to the Explorer and going to top accounts. And you will see all the accounts there. One of the things that I've done in order to clean up and present the dashboard is all our accounts that are sort of community accounts all have a CA prefix. So if you see an address 0xCA02, 01, etc., then you know right away that that's a community account. You probably only find it in the top 10 or 12 here. It won't exist below that. But that's a way to highlight for you to know that it's a community account, meaning it's probably related to one of these pools here. It maybe, well, let's look at it. Validator VIP. So this is the VIP payments for validators. That's going to be in a contract soon, but until then, it's in its own wallet, and that's community account 03. And that's the balance of it, and that's where all the payments to the validators go from. So this is the number here. Yeah, I see questions here. This number here does not indicate stakes, so it's simply veiled by the number of coins in the wallet right now. It has no indication of how much they might have staked, because that would totally change the listing here. This is simply a ranking based on the current state of the wallet. So anyway, this is all here. We are happy to get your feedback. I see there's a lot of discussion already going, and it's an evolving thing. We probably will tweak it. I already tweaked it a bit based on feedback earlier today from folks, and we'll look for your input, have some good discussions, and finesse the dashboard. So thanks for your feedback on that, and hopefully this is a useful tool for you. If you just keep this open, you will have all the live data. For example, the price here changes, and it will go red or green depending on whether it's trending down or up, and hopefully it's green all the time. But black means it hasn't changed. But like I said, all of these numbers are live. So as there are more stakes done or things, I saw very dramatic shifts in the market cap all night when, like, because it's small at the moment, even like when it goes to 0.22, you see a big change in the market cap, etc. All right. So yeah, so hopefully this will keep you more informed, and you don't have to go looking in 100 different places for information, and it will be useful for the community. All right, let's get back to business here. Let's talk about the topic for the day, which is Verse. So Vitruveo Entertainment Revenue Sharing Engine. This is the third vertical. So we've got an arts vertical called Exhibit. We've got the gaming vertical called Vlogs, and we have a third vertical which we don't have a brand name yet, but we are working on it. But Verse is the engine, the revenue sharing engine, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, this is particularly important because when you think about our ecosystem, we don't think about you as, for example, only an artist, and so you only make money from the art vertical. What we want is to make sure that you make money across all these verticals, and that's why we have Vibe, which allows you to do that. And then now you have another opportunity where if you want to participate only in the movie and music vertical, you can participate in Verse directly, or you can just sit back and wait, because some of the revenue share from Verse flows into Vibe anyway. And as you'll see here momentarily, I just want to review a couple of quick slides. And let's see here. Okay, here we go. So here's how the profit sharing splits works in Verse. So we have a whole presentation about Verse, which you can see at vitru.xyz/verse. But I wanted to highlight a few aspects of it. One is when there is profit sharing for Verse, it's broken down in three ways. 75% of it goes into the Verse revenue share pool. So that's what we are going to talk about today. This revenue pool is divided rather, among all the Verse token holders, and that's what we're going to talk about today. 15% goes for Verse operations, and 10% flows, as I mentioned earlier, into Vibe. So if you do absolutely nothing, you're still going to make money from Vibe, because 10% of the from Verse, because 10% of the Verse profits flow into Vibe. But so you have two ways to participate in it. You can either be a direct Verse token holder and participate in the pink box here, the 75% revenue share, or you can be a Vibe holder and you can participate in the purple box here, or you can be both and you can have both. So it's your choice. You can have none also. That's your choice also. All right. So when we first presented Verse, we presented these two boxes about how we were going to go about with initial funding and how much we were making available for the community. So let's start with the blue box on the left. We had said that we were going to raise 10 million, but we have changed that to 20. We are working through the financial models here, which we'll talk about in a moment. And we need more initial capital. So we're going to increase that, and that's going to be 200,000 Verse units. We were calling them shares, but it's better. It's a very confusing term. So because there's rev share and there's these shares, so we are going to call them Verse units, and those will be available a little later. You'll see in the timeline. But I want to focus today on the box to the right, which is our community box, where we want to make sure that everyone in the community has an opportunity to participate with any Vitru that they may have, or any Vitro they might have. So we have created here options for both staking, and swapping. And I believe you will be very, very happy to learn that initially we had put the price at 400 Vitru, but we have come up with a novel mechanism by which we start at 50 Vitru, as low as 50 Vitru, and then work our way up to 400 Vitru. So this is to your benefit, to your advantage. We want to make it easy for people to get into Vitru, but we also want to make it where it's not sort of uh, diminished in value, right? It is something of value, and we want to make sure it retains its value. So let's look at how that works. So what we are going to do here is have 6.7 million, up to 6.7 million Vitru from 30,000 verse units. So previously there were 25,000. We've added 5,000 more, and we've updated the plan here, and we're going to go through that. But the unit price is going to range from 50 to 400, and you are going to have options to stake and swap. But before we go into that, let's look at what our funding phases are. So what we are talking about right now is the community activation phase, where the community can swap or stake Vitru and Vitro to acquire verse units. Really, it's Vitru or Vitro, but it can be and or. I guess it's and or to acquire verse units. So when we are done with that, we'll have a short private sale where qualified investors can acquire verse units at a 10% discount from what will be on the public launchpad. So this is kind of like a pre-sale, if you will, for a 25K minimum. We are not there yet. This is way in the future in January. All we're talking about right now is community activation, but those are the next phases that are coming. And finally, we'll have a public launchpad, a very public launchpad with marketing, etc., where anyone can acquire verse units. So today we are focused on community activation. Private sale, public launchpad comes in January and February. All right, so now we want to talk about verse tokens and units. So as I had teased last week, there are two types of verse tokens. It's an NFT. There's eternal and elastic. Here's the thing. Your wallet may only contain one verse token. You cannot have more than one in a wallet. It's one-to-one. And each token can have any number of units. So you might have, for example, an eternal token with 1,000 units, or you might have an elastic token in a wallet with 50 units. A token's revenue share is calculated by dividing the verse total revenue share. So let's say the total revenue share, for the sake of example, is $1 million. Okay, so you divide that by the total number of units, and that's how you find the per unit rev share. And so your rev share would be based upon how many units you have associated with your token. And you can continue to add units. You can transfer them between tokens, things like that. But a token is a unit that a token only exists as one in a wallet. So now let's look at how elastic and eternal tokens work. We'll start with eternal. Sorry, I should have edited. I got the title wrong here. Ignore the title, please. Eternal tokens are forever. They have revenue share forever. It's that simple. Once you have an eternal, you're good to go. It's kind of like having Vibe, where it's forever, right? Elastic is a little more complicated. With Elastic, what you're doing is whenever you want to claim revenue, you have to burn a certain percentage of units equal to the revenue share you're claiming. So my example here, if you want to claim revenue share 20%, you must burn 20% of your verse units. So if you have 100 verse units and you want to claim 20% of your rev share, you got to burn 20 of your verse units. So that makes the verse a token from a unit standpoint deflationary, because every time someone has with an elastic token claims, they will be burning their units. Now that's not true for eternal. Eternal, you don't have to burn anything in order to claim. You can just claim as much as you want forever. But eternal is very, very limited. It is only limited, as you'll see, for a small group of users. So here's how that works. Let's break down the units. So we have 30,000 units available for our community. That's 12%. And you can get it as elastic by doing a swap. So uh, you can have I'm very sorry, but this is backwards. Um, Let me go ahead and fix that. Give me one moment, please. I will fix this because I don't want the erroneous thing to be present. Give me 1 second. Let me just correct this. Um,
What I'll do, Nick, while you're fixing that is discuss a little bit about our strategy here as we go into pre-list. Um, it can be confusing as we come out with new verticals and that sort of thing, and question the timing of why we're coming out with certain verticals at certain times. And there's definitely a method to the madness. The first thing is we are managing the obvious thing, which we've been talking about for the last 6 months, is managing the circulating supply and the active supply that is available prior to list. So obviously, the lower we get that number, the more successful the protocol will have a higher floor rate and or floor price. So that's going to be the first thing that we're focused on. The second thing is a capital raise. So obviously, to build our liquidity, to build sufficient burn rate or a roadmap, um, it's important that we have enough capital to do that. And so this film vertical that we came out with, we actually didn't plan on launching the film vertical until much later. But because of our connections with Sabong and the entertainment connections that we have through those relationships, we really found that they're ready to go. So we had to expedite this. And prior to our main goal was to use it as a capital raise. But prior to issuing it as a capital raise, we want to give our community the priority in order to make their investment, secure their investment prior. And going to market, the main market that we're going to have is the protocol, which is the Vitru token. That's going to be our main core strategy going into pre-list as we develop, the Vlox gaming vertical, the film vertical, and then of course Exhibit, which is our pilot and our main product. So just add some color to that and just understand the strategy behind why we're launching that pre-list. We put a lot of thought into this, and with all of these things in mind, we can have everything organized prior to list so that our funding is there, our liquidity is there, the price potential is there, the sell pressure is mitigated, increased buy pressure, lower TVL ratio. It all kind of fits together. So if anybody is wondering why we're skipping from project to project, that's the reason. There's a very, very mathematical, technical reason why we're doing it. Nick?
yeah, thanks. Sorry, folks, that I had the typo there earlier. I fixed both my typos. All right, so here, let's talk about the 30,000 unit allocation for the community. As Mike said, we wanted to make sure that our community has first dibs at this, and we want to make it super easy for you. So if you want an Eternal, you have to swap. So you have to swap Vitru or Vitro. In other words, you trade it in and you get verse units for it. But if you want to keep your Vitru, you can stake the Vitru and you can get an elastic one instead. But remember, elastic comes with the burn mechanism in it. So eternal is forever. Elastic is transient because eventually you will have burned through 100% of it. There is an allocation of 20,000 units for the team and 200,000 units for the investors, and those are both at Eternals. So that is a total of 250,000 units. Now, Verse is inflationary from the standpoint that every film project or music project in the future that we bring on, uh, they will each have 1 million of their tokens, but 1 million of their tokens is going to correspond to a variable number of verse units that they get depending on the current value locked into the verse contract. So it depends on how much revenue share is already there and how much revenue share you're bringing in, and that will be the cost. That will be the number of verse units that are minted. So as we move forward, we're going to see this number grow slowly, but it's not going to grow in huge numbers. For example, it would be probably, I don't know, 5 to 7 years before it gets to 1 million units. This is similar to Vibe, where it's not going to be capped at 1 million, but it's going to keep growing at that slow pace. We are not talking about uh, tokenomics here, where you measure things in the billions and things like that. It'll be in the low numbers. All right, now let's look at what it will cost. As I mentioned earlier, the price ranges from 50 to 400 Vitru. And what we've done is make it very attractive, and we've come up with a unique system where the price increases based upon the token units that are already acquired. So for the first 2,000 tokens, the price is 50 per unit for Vitru, and 500 Vitro. Then you get to the next set of 2,000. It increases by 25 Vitru and 250 Vitro per 2,000. It's linear. You can go down there. So basically, if you get in sooner, you get it much, much cheaper. And if you get in at the very end, at closer to 30,000, there you would be paying 400 Vitru for 1 unit, and 4,000 Vitro for 1 unit. So that's basically the lay of the land here. It's very simple. Every 2,000, the base price of 50 goes up by 25. And it's first come, first serve, basically. All right. Um, all right. Let's continue here and see what our next steps are. So our next steps are, first and foremost, to complete the financial model. So we've been working hard on a financial model. I'll give you a quick peek at it here. So we've been working on figuring out how many movie projects we will take on, what the average cost of the movie is, what the capital expenses would be, when we would raise more capital. So we intend to do another $50 million raise in the future. And then what the success rates will be. So just like a venture model, the movie business is somewhat similar. A lot of the movies that are funded end up failing, or maybe just breaking even, but only a few make a stellar profit. So we are working through that financial model right now, and we want to make sure that is incorporated into our calculator. So I've been working very hard on this calculator here. We already got verse factored in here, and we want to make it so before you go to make a buy decision, you can work with the calculator, with the financial model that we've built, and decide for yourself what decision you want to make. We do not want you to have to make a decision without the insights that you're going to get from the revenue growth and etc., and the what if scenarios that we are bringing with the calculator. So it's going to take us a couple more days to get the financial model done. It's going to take a day to get it incorporated into the calculator, and then we are going to do the community activation. So basically, by the middle of this coming week, we'll announce a date and time where you can be ready. You can have made all the decisions you need to about whether you want to do Vitro, etc. And when we pull the trigger, you will, do it with eyes wide open. We want to make sure you have all the information necessary at your fingertips for that. So that's the plan coming up. And what we wanted to do today is to make sure that you are aware of all the options available to you, particularly this table here, which is the main one. So you can decide. You'll be able to work with the calculator, do the financial projections, etc., and say, okay, I want to have this many verse units, and then you can hop in here and get in as quickly as possible, so you can get in at a very low price and get the verse units you want. And you can also decide at that time if you want elastic or eternal, and the model for that is pretty straightforward. If you want eternal, you're going to swap, meaning you're going to essentially trade your Vitru or your Vitro tokens for that. If you want elastic, you have only one option, which is to stake your Vitru. And we'll make it so that if you have Vitru anywhere, you will be able to use it. So Vitru, for example, that is sitting in the vesting contract, you'll be able to use that. Vitru that is sitting in a vault, if you're an artist or creator, you'll be able to use that. So we want to make it really, really easy for you to get it and get into the movie and music business as Vitruveo grows in there. But so that's the plan right now. So stay tuned. There's going to be, I presume, a lot of questions about uh, the staking and the swapping and the ratios, etc. But we felt that we wanted to give you lots of time to digest it and have that calculator. So I will work hard on getting that calculator released as quickly as possible. Once we have finalized this model, we're waiting on this one, making sure that it's accurate and that our projections are good, so that when this logic goes into the interactive calculator, which is going to be on Scope. So if you go to Scope, you will see a calculator option right there, and that's going to be the calculator. It's interactive. It's going to read from your account, from whatever wallet you're connected with. It's going to read all your information, and then it's going to let you edit that. So for example, if you have 100 Vitru, but you want to see, okay, what happens if I have 200 Vitru, you can edit that, and it will do a what if for you and give you a 5-year projection, a 5-year income projection with rebases, with staking, with rewards, all of that. So it gives you a complete picture of how it essentially lets you make the right decisions. So that's the plan, folks. If you want to look at this deck, it's available at vitru.xyz/flashlight-episode 3, EP3. All right. So that's what we wanted to share today. Lots of exciting things happening here. The dashboard is new, and here in a couple of days, 3 days max, you're going to see a calculator, and it's really going to make it possible for you to have great insights that you didn't have before. And I'm glad to have the opportunity to work on that and present that for you. Mike, any thoughts?
Yeah, this is it's such a challenge, you guys, to try to build a model, for for an industry that's had an existing model for years and years and years, and there's monopolies that are around the financing for the movie industry, and there's so many problems within. The more producers that we talk to, executive producers, production companies, all of them are saying the same thing, that uh, the system is broken, it is a monopoly, and we're losing millions of dollars in lost distribution, licensing, and that sort of thing. And so that's really what we're trying to tackle using Web3. The complexity of this is how it's all organized, and making sure that the tokenomics are both profitable for investors as well as for the company. And so trying to figure out the ROIs and figuring out the various percentages in terms of fail rate, success rate, modest growth, break evens, all of that takes a little bit of finessing. And Nick and I are going to be working on the data, the spreadsheet that he illustrated in the deck a few minutes ago, and really going to try to refine it so the numbers are realistic, and we're not interested in posting unrealistic numbers. We're hoping that we can get it somewhere around 20 to 50% APR a year, somewhere around that. I think is super reasonable for a stable business, crypto business. You're not going to see meme token type returns from this sort of thing. What we're trying to achieve is stable income and solving a problem. And really kind of what we did with Vibe, where we can have rev share in the movie industry. And that's what we're creating. But the biggest thing is realistic numbers. And it takes a lot of actually research in order to generate what those ratios should be. And it's going to take us a little bit of time to work that out, but I'm hoping that we can get that done this week. And we need to obviously send this model through some of our contacts, have them evaluate it to ensure that the numbers are realistic. And that's kind of our goal. We do have some questions, and we can field some of these questions. Are you ready, Nick, for Q&A, or?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Some of
I
these questions we will know. Some of them we may not know, but we'll do our best to field some of this. You were going to say something?
No, I was just saying, yes, I will take on questions. I don't know if the answers will be cogent because I have not slept since I arrived here, which was, I think, a day and a half ago, something.
Yeah, yeah. There's only a handful, so I think we can kind of get through them, and
Yeah.
some of them are pretty straightforward. Hi, Nick. Will we be able to buy a verse from Vitru that's currently in our vaults?
Yes,
So this is a
yes.
creator question. So the answer is yes. Next, how can we swap to Eternal?
There will be a Mint page, and we will
Hmm.
share the URL, and you can go there and do it. It's just like the UI that's in scope right now. You'll be able to do that, but we'll provide instructions and the UI for it.
Excellent. Can you do Elastic with Vitro?
No, and let me explain the reason why we don't have staking yet for Vitro, etc. Vitro is fixed supply, and in order to be able to stake, one of the things you expect is rewards at the end, right? An APR. Well, where do those tokens come from? There has to be a reserve of those, and there is not a reserve of that, which is why there is no staking for Vitro at present. But as we get into some of these programs, and we do are able to get some Vitro back into the treasury, we will certainly have staking programs. But as of right now, there isn't an inventory of Vitro tokens for us to be able to offer staking, which is why we don't have that option available, the Elastic
Yeah.
option available.
Yeah, it's funny because with the Vitro supply, we have a number of investors in our community that literally hold 5% of the supply each. They have gone big on their Vitro holdings while the price is so low. Vitro is going to have real utility. There's going to be a number of things that are going to drive utility for Vitro, aside from DEX fees, yield farming, liquidity pools, that sort of thing. With the advent of Launch Monster, that's going to be driving a lot of utility towards the DEX token as well. So a lot of more experienced holders of Vitro are aware of that, and they've really taken up a lot of our supply while the price is so cheap, and they're accumulating more. So keep that in mind. The good thing is that they get it. There's going to be a lot of revenue, not just price action, but also in terms of DEX fees that are going to be generated from a tier one blockchain DEX token. The second part of it is we we can't go too crazy with our Vitro incentives, aside from what I mentioned, the yield farming, the liquidity pools, and the inherent DEX utility. So yeah, that's kind of where we are with that. But we're going to have a pretty big rollout on Vitro, probably Q1, in terms of we'll try to get it, a little bit sooner. But the LPs, the yield farming, that sort of thing, we're going to be launching all of that.
Yeah, I see a lot of good
Okay.
questions there.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, here's one. Are first units tradable and transferable?
Uh, I don't know about tradable, but they're certainly transferable. You can transfer them between your wallets, and each wallet can have its own verse token.
Similar to
You
Vibe,
would,
yeah.
yeah, but in terms of tradable, you would trade the token, not the units. So you can have, for example, you can decide that I want to split up my units among two accounts, and you can do that. You can go give it a different wallet, and it'll create a new token for you on the fly and add your units there. So let's say you have 100 units in one account on one token. You want to split 50-50, you can do that, and then you can go and sell one of those tokens with 50 units on a marketplace.
Okay. Slumdog. We're finally diving into film and movies. Are we separating music from films? In other words, will music have its own revenue sharing engine, or is it going to be incorporated within Verse?
Yeah, so verse is our third vertical. It is for entertainment. It is music, and it is movies and music. We've made a conscious decision that we don't want to try and just be yet another blockchain or yet another protocol that tries to redo music or in a decentralized way, or stream or something like that. We think there's enough people who are either doing it already or have tried to do it, and the thing we want to focus on is is a core problem that has not been solved yet, and focus on that. So in movies, the core problem is funding, and then also getting um, the profits to be distributed correctly to all the stakeholders. So we want to focus on that problem. That's where decentralized technology can really be advantageous. In music, if we were to try and replicate exactly what is happening in visual arts, it would not work very well, because then we are just basically talking about moving audio files, MP3 waves, whatever, around. But if we solve the artist's income, the creator income problem there, and also the getting new projects funded, whether it's for studio time or making a video, etc. All these things are coming down drastically in cost, but they still cost for creating a high quality musical production, an album or things like that. So that's the point where we want to address things, is we want to focus more on the funding side of the equation, which is a pain point, and not necessarily on the music delivery aspect of it, which is a solved problem. Well, there's always going to be innovation there, but as more or less solved problem, right? So that's how we want to work on it, and verse is the our answer to it. It's for both movies and music.
Very good. Okay. What about Vitru sitting in the booster pool? Will we be able to use it and eliminate that pool?
Yeah, the intent is uh, there are 10,200 total booster uh, holders, of which 821 have not yet boosted. So at some point here in the near future, and I'm talking about in days or a week, we're gonna pretty much announce that we're gonna sort of force boost them, because the the intent of the booster was to accelerate vesting, and the vesting period is coming to its end anyway. So if you haven't boosted by now, it's you pretty much are not going to avail of that the vesting acceleration. So then you're left with the tokens, the coins that come with it, and the art that comes with it. So by essentially going ahead and force boosting it, we are simply doing what would have happened organically anyway. It's just our presumption is that it's such a small number, right? 821 out of 10,200, that they've probably forgotten about their boosters or whatever. So once we do that, we can get rid of the inventory that's sitting there for the boosters, and then we can go into the next phase of it, which is the perks. Now we are not yet ready to tackle perks for the OGs or the boosters, because that essentially is going to mean that we will be compounding the problem of adding more Vitru when we are trying desperately to get it lower. So we definitely will not tackle that until we are listed and are trading, etc., and we have liquidity, and then we can address that problem and figure out how we can gradually create an inflow of those coins for their respective holders without jeopardizing the whole protocol from a price standpoint. So we are doing it, doing distributions of the perks for the validators, because it's basically income for them. Because the protocol has very low gas, there's no income for validators, and this is the form of income for them. So that's the only one where there is uh, coins going in. As of now, there's been about 550,000 inflow of coins to validators. But yeah, so that's a long-winded answer to the booster thing. That yes, there's two parts to it. We'll take care of the pool and get rid of that. And in terms of the perks for the boosters and the OGs, that will have to wait a bit.
Yeah, the one thing, I mean, this is my personal opinion, is and I have a pretty large holding of the perks, both with OG and with booster. The issue is that that was an incentive, and then an incentive that none of us can realize right now, for a 24-month period. And then to reward an additional incentive on already an incentive is difficult to do from a business standpoint, because we do have to be mindful. This debt has to be paid eventually, and we don't want to run into huge issues where there's just this massive, massive supply in 24 months to 60 months from now, and put potential massive sell pressure once we've built all this momentum. So we're trying to be mindful of that. And it's unlikely that we will provide staking incentives for the booster and OG pools, but it's something that we are looking at. It's just unlikely, is the way I see it. But Nick might come up with something creative. Who knows?
Yeah, we do
Uh,
want to have innovative DeFi, innovations there. So we'll probably come up with something there where you can use those perks and create additional value.
yeah, there were a couple of other questions of, hey, if I've staked for in the staking protocol, can I use that staked for verse? And I would say the answer is no. However, an exception to that would be vested. Correct, Nick? I think we are allowing vested to be
Yeah, I
transferred
mean,
over, or is that
yeah, I
from a
mean,
contract standpoint? I don't know how hard or easy that is.
yeah, when you staked, you probably got some vibe. You staked for vibe, so then you restake that same staked one for verse. It doesn't make much sense, folks. We have to be able to keep the ship afloat. We can't do that if you're giving away everything all the time. No, so yeah,
Yeah,
so
double
and
dipping, but
I
vesting
think,
is a completed completely in that
yeah.
vesting. I think it is possible.
And someone made a good point up there that I saw it scroll by, that we shouldn't even allow that because we are trying to, so let's the first advantage of this is it's a thank you to the community. It's an opportunity for the community to participate in this, right? But it's also, let's face it, a way to reduce some of the Vitru supply as we go to the centralized exchange. So if we do it for what's vesting, it doesn't achieve that goal. But I think I'd like the community to have verse. So I think it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. This question, perhaps we could add the Vitro price to the dashboard as well. I think that's
Yeah, and honestly, I'll tell you, I am not embarrassed at all by admitting my failures and shortcomings. I have not been able to figure out how to add it, which is the only reason it's not there. So I probably should ask Tasman for help. So I'll do that. He'll probably tell me in a jiffy how to do it, but I was not able to get it, and so that's why it's not there yet.
very good. And Tasman, speaking of which, so it might be an obvious answer, but the elastic and external or eternal NFTs are the same price. The only difference is you get one by swapping and one by staking.
Yes, that's correct. The That's exactly it. Eternal is you swap it, and elastic is you stake it. And Tasman actually gave a very good suggestion. There is, if you offer staking for Vitro, but not offer any APR because we don't have any rewards there. That's not a bad idea. That's a really really good idea actually. So thank you for that suggestion, Taz. We'll probably do that.
Okay. And are you guys talking with any record companies from the music industry? No,
Not at all. We
emphatically
are
no.
focused on movies right now. Definitely want to get
Yeah,
the verse platform going. We are talking tokenomics here. There's a lot of work to be done, and the only reason we are even talking about verse and movies, etc., is because, as uh, Mike said, with the Sabong partnership, we have a great opportunity to get into the movie business with movie producers, etc. And this is something you don't delay on. If you have a ready partner and you've got the opportunity, you seize that and you just go at it right away. And that's what we're doing.
yeah. It's coming. It's just I put together a spreadsheet of all the different ways that we're going to scale the team once liquidity is achieved, and once we've got a firm foundation for the protocol and more developers, larger team, then we can divide up resources in order to start tackling some of those other value propositions. But we're definitely going to be on top of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, AA said that was him. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Actually, we could kind of split it a little bit, right? We could say that the early units are only available for a swapping, and as you get higher, then they are available for staking. Also, we could do something like that, which addresses the problem in a nice way.
Yeah.
I see
And
more questions
was there a
here.
value in the calculator? Yeah, there will be. We just have to. There's a lot of complexity to the calculator. We wanted to include verse in the calculator, and we're still fine tuning the table
Yeah.
in terms of the calculation. So once we get that done, we could have pushed out the calculator without the verse, but being that we're trying to launch verse as soon as quickly or as soon as possible, we thought we would finally get that done. We just have to fine tune the table to make sure that the numbers pencil out. This question,
Uh,
iFly. Speaking of perks pools, does any rebates that happen within the pool go to Vibe RevShare or accumulate in the pool for later claiming?
it's actually neither. So, given the rate at which we've been giving out APRs and all that, we need to make sure we have inventory of coins available to hand those off. So we're going to count on those rebases with the pools, etc., that are sitting there in order to be able to make sure that we have the inventory. So the answer is neither right now, but that might change. But right now, we are not thinking that that goes anywhere other than to pay for essentially the debt.
Yeah, and I think that's it, Nick, in terms of our
Uh,
questions.
I see a couple here that I want to. I see one here. Old Jug asks, "Can you have one of each verse token in two different wallets?" Yeah, so it's one verse token per wallet, and actually, from an architectural standpoint, part of the what's driving this design is what we're learning from Vibe. For example, with Vibe, one of the challenges has been with denominations. Denominations are a great thing, but when people want to change them, we have to the problem becomes gas. If we run out of gas, essentially, it can do it. So with Verse, we want to make sure we don't repeat the same mistake, and it's easiest done by having a combination of ERC 721 and ERC 20, which is what this really is, and we want to make it easy so people can do whatever they want to without having any constraints. So that's why the limitation is one a token, eternal or elastic, in one wallet. That's it. You cannot have more than one. Yeah. So I saw
Yep.
one other question here. This last one here I saw. How many units come with the purchase of a Verse NFT, or do the units get purchased separately? You're absolutely right. They come separately. So a Verse token is by itself just a carrier, a container, a pack, a bundle, if you will, for holding the units. The units are what you are buying when you stake or swap through the community activation of Verse. So, yeah. So you might have one unit in. You need to have at least one unit in a token. Otherwise, the contract will automatically delete it. So if you transfer, for example, the last unit in a token, it will delete the token because there's no need for it. When you get one more, it'll bring you back a new token.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was talk about this as well, whether or not we're going to add validators to the calculator, and the answer is no. There's a number of reasons for that. Nick, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, the main thing is
If
we are
not, I
creating
can handle it.
a general purpose calculator that is for thousands of people, and the validator input is only applicable to less than 400 people. So we'd prefer to have that in a separate calculator. It's easy enough to uh, edit the inputs of what you're holding, and it does remember it, so you don't have to do it more than once, and we can address it that way. But yeah, we are not. We're going to make sure that the general purpose tools are not, very specific to very small subsets of users, because then everyone else has to be taught to ignore it because they may not know what that means, and then we have to educate them on what that means. So it's better for us to have a separate tool for this.
Yeah. However, we can produce a separate validator or an updated validator calculator. We can work with
Mhm.
ESO on that, and that might be a better solution for validators and disseminate that to that community.
Yep.
And our percentage distribution is the same for Elastic and Eternal.
A unit is a unit, and it has an equivalent share of the revenue as any other unit. The only difference is how you're getting it. With Eternal, you just go claim it. With Elastic, you got to think twice because you have to burn some units in order to claim that. That's the only difference. But they are one for one, and when it comes to the value of the unit.
It's similar to the perks pool, where if you claim it, you
Mhm.
lose that profit net revenue, where you should let it rebase because that's where a lot of additional revenue is going to come from.
Yeah, I think that's
And
it. And I saw a comment very early on about us not, we should try and get things done on time. I appreciate that very much. We're doing the best we can. I mean, there's only so many hours in a day, and there's a finite amount of energy you can expend on this. So we're trying the best we can, and we appreciate everyone's patience and willing to give us some extra time on some of these things that turn out. What happens is you get into the weeds of some of these things and you say, oh wow, I just peel back a couple of layers and there's a whole lot more here that we didn't expect. And so this is with that financial model, that's what we are finding is that no one's done that. No one's done this level of um, sort of movie financing uh, across many different projects in a decentralized way. And so we are discovering things a little bit. Even Chat GPT comes up with I don't know, so we have to figure things out there. That's
yeah, on
yeah, I
that,
tried four different prompts today, and Chat GPT says, yeah, sorry, this is don't have the numbers or data on that. So
once we do list, we will most likely be scaling back the spotlights, just because we really do need time to start developing the actual, exhibit and that sort of thing. And it puts a lot of stress on Nick and I to produce something to deliver in 7 days, right? And so sometimes the updates can be, some of them are exciting, some of them are underwhelming. We really want to produce finished products where we have a concept, we work out all the details. That way, there's no questions, typically when we deliver it outside of, just very obvious ones. But we don't want to just present concepts on future spotlights. We want to produce finished products and then go through a refining process by taking feedback. So it's quite possible we may go to every 2 weeks, once a month, or whatever, after we list. But just know that we're actively we're working on so many different things simultaneously, and the biggest thing is our launch strategy. That's the most important thing. That's the highest priority right now, and making sure that everything is in position for that.
yep,
Fortnite, yeah, Mystique. Very good.
yeah.
All right. I think that's it.
All right. Yeah, thanks all. And like we said, we need a couple days on the financial model and then one on the calculator. So around midweek we can expect to do this. You should be thinking about your strategy. We'll present a calculator so you can validate your strategy, but you have all the information on what is going to happen when we have the verse minting page up. You basically get to choose how many Vitru you want to swap, how many you want to stake, how many Vitro you want to swap, and from the idea we got here, also from Tasman, also stake. So yeah, we're looking forward to activating that for you and getting going into the movie business. So that's it. Thank you
Yep.
very much. Have a
Yep.
good week.
And next
Bye.
Friday is going to be our most exciting spotlight of the year, in my opinion. So
It
I where
absolutely is going to be. Yeah.
yeah, that's where we're going to unveil, the entire roadmap to list, all the hard dates, all the decisions that we've made, And so tune in for next Friday. That is going to be something you don't want to miss for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. My guess is that we'll probably do another flashlight when we do the verse launch, when it's active with the calculator. So in the middle of the week also. So see you then. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye, guys.